street art actually frames the city as much as the city frames the street art. We've had an incredibly positive response so far from people who are coming in to see the laneways, and it's surprising to realise that pre-COVID only about 20 of our laneways featured street art. We're now adding another 40, and so it really does reinforce us being the street art capital of Australia, and we feel confident it's going to bring people in and bring a lot of delight.
It's interesting you speak about how it will connect people back to the city, because I feel as though after everything that Melbourne has been through, and Victoria as well, but particularly Melbourne, that's really needed, that people need to have that connection back to their city and that love refueled, I guess.
That's right, Jo, that sense of pride, and a lot of the feedback we're receiving is that people want to come in to do the things that they remember fondly, that sense of nostalgia, and reconnect to those. But there's also an expectation that there will be new things for people to experience. So this program is right on song for being able to surprise and delight, but also, as I said, reinforce our creds as a street art capital. But importantly, Jo, this really came about because we wanted to find ways to support artists who have been the most impacted during this pandemic period. And it's just been a joy to be able to interact with those artists and see them take on massive projects and feel that they are again connected to the city, and of course they've got a way of expressing themselves and being employed.
So how many artists are involved in this exhibition, and how did you go about choosing who was going to take part?
Well, luckily I didn't have to be involved in those very difficult decisions, Jo. We've got a team here that really helped curate the artists that would be involved, and there are 80 street artists. But then there are about another 80 industry professionals helping with things like lighting. We're planning days where there'll be music that matches the art, and I think it's just a spectacular program of really showing our artistic industry that we appreciate them and that we can really work with them to deliver programs at scale. Our artists are so important at that whole creative sector, at drawing people to the city, at generating economic value for our local traders, and really for making the city experience something very distinctive.
And drawing people to the city, including those outside of Victoria, now that some of the borders, the border with New South Wales is back open, and we're starting to see those restrictions ease as well.
We are, Jo, and we've been delighted so far with the increase in foot traffic. We are coming from a very low base, but over the Capp weekend, we saw on average across the city our footfall at about 80% of normal foot traffic, which is really stunning. $950 million spent in the CBD over that weekend. And during the weekdays, we're at about 50%, but we've come from as low as 15%. So we're very encouraged, and we look to that next threshold at 90% when masks can come off in the office. And we're looking forward to welcoming our city workers back. And you can see from the wonderful images you are showing of the street art that there's going to be plenty to not just entice, but to help people stop and dwell and really marvel at local talent here in Melbourne.
One thing I love about street art is that you don't necessarily know that it's coming. So you can be walking along the street and you turn a corner and then bam, it's right in front of you and it really hits you. What are some of the highlights that you can share with us from this exhibition?
It's one of my favourite things too, actually. I really think that's that element of surprise and delight, Jo. There is a spectacular mammoth bit of street art in Drury Lane that really picks up on some of our Asian history, and it does incorporate light. So whether you see it during the day or the night, it has its own presence. It's a mystical Asian figure, and I really recommend people go and have a look during the day and then return again at night, as I said. There are some fantastic geometrical, almost, you look at them and get lost in them. For example, in Highlander Lane, there's a fantastic geometrical pattern where you can literally get lost and you lose a sense of space. One of my favourites are down near Rose Lane and is in Rose Lane down at Little Bourke Street. two artists there combining very, very different types of art and something that's a great juxtaposition, and you can stand in one spot and view both of them at the same time. Absolutely fantastic. So I do recommend. They're just a few. And I've got to say, Joe, for me, I'm still walking around town and I get surprised when I'm looking down Laneway. So it's a really nice thing even for me, and I'm here every day.
That's the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, Sally Capp, speaking with us a little earlier.